Ancient Egypt was a long land along the banks of the Nile. Residents live on both sides of the river, of which the most prosperous is the northern part of the Lower Egypt and the south is Upper Egypt with many mountains and sand dunes. Around 3000 BC, there was a king named Narmer in Upper Egypt. He is said to have waged a series of military campaigns against rival kingdoms and leaders in Upper and Lower Egypt, finally succeeding in unifying the two regions into a single kingdom under his rule. Narmer's reign marked an important turning point in the country's history and paved the way for centuries of Pharaoh rule. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. You'll never miss a video and help us deliver even more great content. Click that like button and sign up today. King Narmer, also known as Menes, is considered to be the first pharaoh of ancient Egypt's early dynastic period, which lasted from approximately 3273 to 2987 BCE. The name of King Narmer is derived from several sources, including inscriptions on various artifacts such as the Narmer Palette and the Narmer macehead. One of the most famous depictions of Narmer's unity is the Narmer Palette, discovered by archaeologist James E. Quibell at Nekhen, a ceremonial object that shows him wearing the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt and defeating his enemies. The double crown, or pshint, was created by Hedjet, the white crown of Upper Egypt, and Deshret, the red crown of Lower Egypt. This gave rise to the theory that Narmer united the two lands. On the front of the palette, we see a king's authority shown as he grabs his enemies by the hair and holds a mace in his other hand, preparing to deliver the final blow. This scene highlights the pharaoh's military victories and his ability to maintain order and control. One of the most remarkable details of the Narmer palette is the 4 beaded tassels on the belt that Narmer wears. Each of these tassels has an ornament of the head of Hathor, a woman depicted wearing a cow horn hat and a sun disk, emphasizing the king's connection to this important goddess. Behind him is a long tassel that represents a lion's tail, a symbol of strength and courage. He also wears a shardit, a kilt or loincloth typical of the ruling class. The palette depicts an official who followed Narmer, whose most important task was to wear the pharaoh's sandals. The pharaoh's sandals are the only garments that separates them from the land of Egypt and is a symbol of the union of heaven, the divine world, and the human world. He is surrounded by an asterisk, indicating his importance and status in the king's court. Above the prisoner, a falcon perched on a bouquet of papyrus flowers, the symbol of Lower Egypt. The falcon represents Horus, a powerful deity associated with the pharaohs. In the falcon's talons, a rope-like object depicted as attached to a man's nose also grows from a sedge flower. This scene may represent the pharaoh's conquest of enemies and his ability to maintain order and control in his kingdom. At the top, we see 2 bull heads with human faces, believed to represent the bull goddess Bat flanking the Syrinx. Hathor, who has many of the characteristics of Bat, is similarly depicted. In the final sequence, at the bottom, 2 naked men lie at his feet in a wall that might represent a city. Obviously, they were beaten to death and now preyed on by insects. The other side of the palette depicts Narmer wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt, while he holds a mace and a threshing, 2 traditional symbols of kingship. The scene is once again surrounded by hieroglyphs and symbols, including images of the goddess Hathor, a falcon, and a bull. Directly in front of the pharaoh was a man with long hair, accompanied by a pair of hieroglyphs that interpreted his name Chet. In front was an army of 4 people carrying various objects. This scene provides insight into the social hierarchy of ancient Egypt and the roles different individuals played in that society. At the far right is a row of 10 decapitated corpses with their heads below their feet and their severed genitals protruding from their mouths. Above them are symbols of a ship, a falcon, and a harpoon, possibly indicating the names of towns conquered. Below the scene, 2 mythical beasts, serpopards, wrapped their necks together, forming a loop that symbolizes the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt. One of the snakes wore the red crown of Lower Egypt, while the other wore the white crown of Upper Egypt. Note that the 2 subordinates of the pharaoh kept the lions in check, implying that the 2 Egypts needed a mighty hand like Narmer to rule. In the bottom row, an ox, possibly Apis, thwarts Egypt's enemies while knocking down a rampart with its horns. Cow is often used to describe the power of the pharaoh. The power and importance of the unification of Egypt is also shown on the Mace of Narmer. In 1898, it was found by James Quibell in the Upper Egyptian capital Nekhen. One theory is that the events depicted on the mace were the Heb-Sed festival, the celebration of the great occasion, or his wedding to Queen Nefeltep, the one who would later be queen and mother of his successor, Hor-Aha. The mace scene shows King Narmer wearing a red crown and sitting on a pedestal while captives and looters are presented before him in a temple. In the canopy was a vulture, possibly the local goddess Nekbet. At the bottom are records of animal and human plunder, 400,000 cattle, 1,422,000 goats, and 120,000 prisoners of war. In the first row, something looks like a bull and a calf, possibly representing the titles of Thebka or the goddess Hathor and her son Horus. The various symbols and scenes depicted on the mace highlight the pharaoh's divine rule and his victories. The mace offers a glimpse into the customs of the ancient Egyptians. After the successful unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, King Narmer further consolidated his power. He is said to have founded the capital at Memphis, which became the center of his administration and government. One of King Narmer's most important achievements after unification was the establishment of a new legal system that was applied uniformly throughout the kingdom. Narmer also continued to oversee the construction of impressive architectural projects, including temples, fortifications, and irrigation systems, which helped support the kingdom's growing population and agricultural productivity. In addition to his domestic policies, King Narmer was a successful military commander who led several campaigns to expand the territory and influence of the Egyptian kingdom. He is credited with leading successful military campaigns against neighboring regions, including Nubia and Libya, helping secure Egypt's borders and defending the kingdom from external threats. The exact circumstances of King Narmer's death are unknown. However, it is believed that he died after ruling Egypt for about 60 years. The cause of his death is still a mystery. It is thought that he was carried away by hippos. In ancient Egypt, kings often showed themselves in battles with fearsome beasts as a way of showing their worth to their subjects. This is suggested by Manetho's account of Menes, who is said to have been killed by a hippo, which was considered a worthy rival to a pharaoh. King Narmer was buried in a tomb located in the necropolis of Abydos in Upper Egypt. The tomb was discovered in 1897 by British archaeologist James E. Quibell. It consists of several rooms and corridors lined up with mud bricks, and its walls are decorated with intricate hieroglyphs and a description of the king's life and achievements. While some historical records suggest that his son, Hor-Aha, also known as Athatis, succeeded him, others suggest it may have been one of his other relatives or a family military leadership. Other possible successors to King Narmer include his brother Scorpion II. Some historians have suggested that Narmer himself may have ruled for a longer time than previously thought, and that he may have had more than one successor. In short, King Narmer's reign had far-reaching effects on subsequent kings and the entire history of Egypt. His unification of Upper and Lower Egypt paved the way for a period of great cultural and architectural achievements, as well as the development of a complex bureaucracy. His reign also saw the rise of the cult of the pharaohs and the development of hieroglyphics, which would become an integral part of Egyptian culture and religion. King Narmer's legacy can be seen in the symbolism and imagery used by subsequent pharaohs and in the long cultural and religious traditions of ancient Egypt. Please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support, and I can't wait to see you in the upcoming videos.